My name is Irma Iverson, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the tech girl in my family. I'm 28 now, I work in cybersecurity, and strangers pay me very good money to keep their systems from falling apart. My own family? They still act like I'm the kid who fixed the Wi-Fi once. It started when I was 13 and figured out how to resurrect our dying router with a YouTube tutorial, a bent paperclip, and sheer panic because my dad was yelling about missing a game. The internet came back, everyone cheered, and my mom joked, "Look at that, we've got our own IT department." The joke never stopped. From then on, every time a screen froze or a printer made a strange grinding noise, someone yelled, "Irma," like I was a household appliance. By 16, I'd set up my Uncle Jason's entire point-of-sale system for his coffee shop, Brew and Bag It, because the square thingy isn't working, and you're good with that stuff, right? At 17, I built him a simple website, nothing fancy, just a clean menu, hours, an online order form. He looked at it and whistled. "Wow, kiddo, if I'd known you could do all this, I'd have hired you instead of that web company." "You didn't hire a web company," I reminded him. "You tried to do it yourself and crashed your laptop." He laughed, clapped me on the shoulder, and called me my little IT girl for the first time. Everyone thought it was adorable. My parents were blue-collar, both exhausted, and by the time they divorced when I was 14, me handling all the tech stuff was just one less thing for them to think about. No one asked if I wanted to be the family's unpaid help desk. It just happened. By the time I graduated college and landed my first full-time job in cybersecurity at 24, I wasn't just fixing phones and laptops anymore. I was quietly holding up entire pieces of my family's lives. Jason's domain renewal? Paid on my card just this once because his debit kept getting declined. The email hosting for orders at brewandbaggett.com. Set up under my account because he thought Gmail looked unprofessional. My cousin's Chromebook before finals? Fixed at midnight with a new SSD I bought because she cried that she'd fail out otherwise. My mom's new phone every 2 years? Me, moving her contacts, installing her apps, resetting her passwords because she swore technology was trying to kill her. Nobody ever offered to pay. If I hesitated for even a second, I got the same line. "Family doesn't charge family, Irma." The thing is, I believed that. At first. I liked being useful. There's a twisted kind of warmth in watching someone's panic melt into relief because you know exactly which button to push. And for a while, that was enough. Then my dad lost his job during the pandemic. "Just for a few months," he said on the phone. "Can you spot me the utilities? Just until I get back on my feet." I set his gas, water, and electric on autopay, all funneled through my card. When he started watching more Netflix than he did job listings, I quietly added that bill too. My mom's hours got cut. "I'll pay you back when things pick up," she promised, as I started sending a portion of my paycheck directly to her landlord. "You're such a good girl, always helping." Jason upgraded the cafe with a new espresso machine. He proudly posted about it on Instagram, but somehow never had money for website subscriptions or POS fees. Every month, a new email. Payment declined. Every month, I clicked, updated, renewed. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself this is what you do when you're the stable one, the one with the computer job. I told myself I was being a good daughter, a good niece. But one day, I opened my banking app, saw the mess of random charges, and something tight and hot settled in my chest. I created a spreadsheet. I named it, Not Bitter, Just Aware. At first, it was almost a joke. Line 1, Brew and Baggett domain renewal, $85. Line 2, POS subscription, $79.99 monthly. Line 3, Dad's electric bill, $64.32. Line 4, Mom's rent, $700. Month after month, emergency after emergency, the lines multiplied. A year went by, then 2, then 4. By the time I was 26, the total at the bottom of that spreadsheet was over $40,000. $40,000 I had shoveled into a hole labeled family, while everyone else pretended it was just the ground. My boyfriend Daniel noticed it before anyone else did. We were in my apartment one night, eating takeout on the floor because my dining table had become a graveyard of half-assembled PCs. I had my laptop open to the spreadsheet, adjusting a few cells. "What's that?" he asked, leaning over. "Nothing," I lied automatically. "Just tracking some stuff." His eyes skimmed the column of names. Mom, Dad, Jason, Bagot, cousin Lena, and the total at the bottom. His forehead creased. Irma, he said quietly, this isn't some stuff. This is a mortgage. I shrugged, feeling strangely defensive. They need help. I can afford it. Can they afford you? He countered. I closed the laptop. Conversation over. At least that's what I told myself. Then came Thanksgiving. My mom insisted on hosting, even though her oven ran too hot, and she always forgot at least one side dish in the fridge. I showed up with 2 homemade pies, a tray of roasted vegetables, and my laptop in my backpack, just in case. The house smelled like turkey and resentment. My dad hovered near the TV, flipping between football and the news. Jason held court by the kitchen island, telling some loud story about a rude customer. My cousin Derek had brought his new girlfriend, a quiet girl who looked like she'd wandered into the wrong movie. Hey, there she is, Jason boomed when I walked in. Our little IT lifesaver. I smiled tightly, kissed my mom's cheek, and helped set the table. Mason jars as cups, mismatched plates, a gravy boat with a crack running down the side, same as every year. Dinner was cramped and lukewarm. The conversation was the usual mix of money complaints, passive-aggressive digs, and jokes that stopped being funny 10 years ago. So, Irma, Derek's girlfriend asked politely at one point, what do you do again? Your job, I mean. Before I could answer, Jason elbowed me. She presses buttons all day, he said. Our little IT helper. She keeps my whole cafe running. Don't you, kiddo? A few people chuckled. My dad snorted. It's not real work, he added. Not like physical labor. But hey, someone's got to do the computer stuff. The fork froze halfway to my mouth. I am 28 years old, I thought. I manage security protocols for companies that handle more money in a day than you've seen in a year. I have certifications that took years and nights and panic attacks to earn. I've spent literal nights on call, tracing intrusion attempts so that people like you can swipe a card for coffee and never think about where your data goes. And in this house, I am still the kid who fixed the Wi-Fi once. I felt something inside me go very, very still. It wasn't a dramatic shattering, not a blaze of rage. It was a click. Like a switch flipping in a server room. 1 second, the hum is so constant you don't even hear it. The next, silence. I looked around the table, at my mom, who would later tell her friends, Irma's such a good girl, always helps when we need her, like my bank account was a personality trait. At my dad, drinking beer I'd indirectly funded, complaining about the power bill I'd been paying. At Jason, bragging about his entrepreneur life hoodie, while the cafe's entire digital skeleton sat on my credit card. At Derek, letting his girlfriend believe I pressed buttons, because correcting anyone would disrupt the script. They didn't see me, they saw a service. A little IT helper with infinite patience and a bottomless wallet. I swallowed my mashed potatoes, smiled when someone made a joke about kids these days having it easy, and said nothing. Out loud, anyway. In my head, a different conversation started. Okay, Irma, they think this is free. They think you're a background process that never crashes. What happens if you do? That night, back in my apartment, I sat at my tiny kitchen table, the leftovers I'd brought home untouched in the fridge. I opened Not Bitter, Just Aware, XLSX, and scrolled all the way down. The total stared back at me. It had climbed again. Over $62,000 now. The cursor blinked in the empty row beneath. I thought about Daniel's words. Can they afford you? I thought about Jason's toast, our little IT helper. I thought about how none of them had ever once asked, hey, are you okay? Does this work for you? My fingers hovered over the trackpad. What if I just stop? I whispered into the quiet. No big speech, no dramatic announcement in the group chat, no long essay about boundaries they'd twist into an accusation. Just stop. Stop paying, stop patching, stop renewing, stop being the invisible mesh network under their lives. If they really believed my work wasn't real, maybe it was time to let them live without it. I scrolled to line 1. Brew and Bagot, website hosting renewal, $29.99 month, auto-renew, on. I looked at the column next to it. Then I moved the cursor, clicked the toggle in my admin panel, and turned auto-renew off. A system warning popped up. Are you sure you want to cancel this subscription? The site will go offline at the end of the current billing cycle. I stared at it for a long second. Yes, I murmured, and clicked confirm. Somewhere, on some server, a line of code changed status from active to pending cancellation. On my screen, the cell updated. And in my chest, for the first time in years, something loosened. I scrolled down to the next line. This wasn't revenge, I told myself. This was maintenance. But in the back of my mind, I could already see it. The moment someone finally noticed the raft starting to deflate. And when they did, they'd look around in confusion and ask, "Where's Irma? Why isn't she fixing this?" For the first time in my life, the answer would be simple. She's not on call anymore. I moved to the next subscription on the list and took a slow, steady breath. Okay, I said to the empty room. Let's see what happens when the helper goes offline. The strange thing about cutting people off is that nothing happens at first. You expect an explosion, angry calls, frantic texts, someone pounding on your door demanding answers. Instead, the world stays quiet, too quiet, like the moment you unplug a refrigerator and only then realize how loud it had been all along. After I canceled Jason's website auto-renew, I stared at the screen for a full minute, waiting for guilt to crash over me. But it didn't. I felt calm, steady, almost like exhaling after holding my breath for years. So I kept going. Line 12, email server for Brew and Baggett, $1,900 month, auto pay on. Click off. Line 27, dad's water bill, $64.32, auto pay on. Off. My cursor slid down the sheet like I was erasing someone else's mistakes, not my own enabling. By midnight, I'd canceled 8 subscriptions, paused 4 auto payments, and removed myself as admin from anything that required my constant babysitting. And nobody noticed. Not the next day, not the day after, not the third day. It was like watching people float on a raft I'd built, patched, inflated, and held together with duct tape, then quietly stepping back into the water and realizing they didn't even glance behind to see who'd been keeping them from sinking. On day 4, Jason finally texted, "Jason, hey, anyone else having trouble with the site? I can't access the back end or update the menu." Then 10 minutes later, "Jason, also the orders at Brew and Baggett email isn't working. Weird." I stared at the messages, sipping my coffee. Weird indeed. I didn't respond. Instead, I added 2 new check marks to my spreadsheet. Website offline email, inactive. Then I wrote a new column header. Date they finally noticed. I left it blank. Dad cracked next. He called twice, no voicemail, then texted, "Dad, did the power company change banks or something?" A minute later, "Dad, why is the bill under your name anyway? Thought I changed that." "No, Dad, you didn't. You never even tried." 5 minutes later, another message. "Dad, can you fix it?" I typed the words, "I'm sure you'll figure it out," deleted them, retyped them, deleted them again, then finally sent them. No smiley, no heart, no softening. Just facts. He didn't reply. The next morning, my phone buzzed 6 times before I even got out of bed. Frantic voicemails from Jason. Apparently, Brew and Baggett's POS terminal had crashed mid-brunch rush. Orders weren't syncing, the kitchen couldn't see any tickets, and his staff had resorted to scribbling orders on napkins. His third voicemail, my personal favorite, started with, "Bro, I think we got hacked. You're good with that stuff, right?" I bit into my toast and laughed so hard crumbs flew everywhere. "Right," I said to myself, "definitely hacked. By your own incompetence." But of course, he still thought I was his on-call IT puppet. I didn't call back. Instead, I changed the password to the admin dashboard, my dashboard, logged out, and shut my laptop gently, like I was tucking in a child who had finally cried themselves to sleep. 3 days later, everything went from messy to absurd. Jason showed up at my apartment, unannounced. I was in the middle of a Zoom meeting when the Ring camera flickered to life. "Jason is at your door." Great. I muted myself, turned off my camera, and tiptoed to the peephole. There he was, sunglasses indoors, coffee-stained polo shirt, holding his phone like it might explode. He rang the bell 3 times, then banged on the door. I let him sweat for a minute before cracking it open. "Hey," I said flatly. He didn't say hello, didn't ask if I was busy, didn't apologize. He launched straight in. "Look, Irma, I get it. You're busy with your fancy tech job now, but some of us run small businesses and depend on you." Depend on me. Like I was his emotional support router. I raised an eyebrow. "Do you know how much I've spent on your cafe?" He blinked. "What? Like $10 or something?" "I have a spreadsheet," I said. He looked offended. "Why would you keep a spreadsheet? That's weird." "No, Jason. What's weird is using your niece as a free IT department for 6 years. It's over $11,000, I said. Just for the cafe." He laughed. Actually laughed. "That's impossible. Tech stuff is free. Google makes everything free." My eye twitched. "You've been using my debit card," I said. "For everything. For years." Jason waved a dismissive hand. "Okay, but If you wanted me to pay you back, you could have just said something instead of, not to be rude, sabotaging my whole shop. Sabotaging. There it was. The word that told me everything I needed to know. He didn't think my help had value. He only cared now that he'd lost it. I'm not sabotaging anything, I said calmly. I just stopped fixing the things you broke. Whatever, he muttered. Just turn everything back on. No, I said. He blinked like I'd spoken in another language. No, he repeated. I'm done being your little IT helper, I said. Done. Then I closed the door in his face. He stood there for a moment, muttered something I couldn't hear, and stormed off. That night, predictably, I got a text from Mom. Mom, we need to talk. Family meeting, Sunday, non-negotiable. I stared at the message until it blurred. I didn't want to go. I didn't owe them anything. But curiosity? Curiosity is a hell of a drug. When Sunday came, I parked 3 houses down and sat in the car, heart thrumming like an overworked hard drive. In my bag, I had a printed folder labeled Support Services Rendered, Irma Iverson. I didn't plan on showing it, not unless they pushed. But my family always pushed. Inside the house, the energy was thick enough to choke on. Mom sat at the head of the table like a judge. Dad stood in the corner, arms crossed. Jason paced like he was preparing a TED Talk titled, Why I Am the Real Victim. My cousin Ryan munched pretzels in the back like he was watching a Netflix special. Thanks for coming, Mom said stiffly. We need to discuss your behavior. I sat. Jason dove in. Irma pulling the plug on everything without warning? Not okay. I looked at him slowly. You mean the things I've been paying for? The website, the POS, the domain, the email hosting, the Dropbox. He cut me off with a shrug. Yeah, and you've always been good at that. It's what you do, right? What I do. I leaned forward. You say that like I am a vending machine with a free Wi-Fi plan. Silence. Then Mom cleared her throat. Sweetheart, you've always been the glue, the helper. I hate that word, I said. Dad sighed dramatically. So what's this about? Money? Is that what you want? They had no idea what was coming. I reached into my bag, pulled out the folder, and slid it across the table. Jason snorted. What's that, an invoice? Actually, I said, yes. It's 6 years of everything I've paid for. Hosting, utilities, subscriptions, software, rent, licenses, POS hardware, emergency fixes, late-night services, line by line, over 162,312. Jason's jaw hung open. Mom's face drained of color. Dad blinked hard, like the number itself offended him. Ryan whispered, Damn, that's like a house. Then I pulled out the screenshots. Exhibit A. Irma will fix it. She always does. Exhibit B. Jason sending me a login at 1:42 a.m. with no explanation. Exhibit C. Dad saying, Irma's job isn't real work. She just sits at a computer. Exhibit D. Ryan begging for help recovering crypto that turned out to be a PayPal scam. I didn't speak. I let the silence do the talking. Jason tried one last time to save face. But you were going to cover that stuff anyway, right? You never said no. I nodded slowly. And now I am. Mom exhaled shakily. If this is about boundaries, then maybe we should talk No, I said. Here's my boundary. If you want help, ask. If it requires time or money, expect to pay. And if anyone calls me little IT helper again, I'll invoice you just for fun. They stared as I stood, slung my bag over my shoulder, and walked out. Before the door closed behind me, I added, check your email tomorrow. And I left. Monday morning arrived with the quiet, eerie calm of a server room right before an overload. I woke up early, made coffee, and sat at my desk as the sun crept through the blinds in thin, strained lines. Then I opened my laptop and drafted the email. Subject: Support terminated. Permanently. Body: Effective immediately. All unpaid technical labor, account management, and financial coverage previously provided has ended. For any future assistance, please contact me through my professional email. Hourly rate, $250. Invoicing begins at time of inquiry. Simple, unemotional, professional. I hit send. Within 30 minutes, the family group chat detonated. Mom: Irma, what is this? Dad: Is this some kind of joke? Jason: What do you mean terminated? The site is down again. Ryan: Guys, relax. Maybe she's just setting boundaries, lol. I closed the chat without replying and opened my work emails. At least those people knew a boundary when they saw one. It didn't take long for Jason to escalate. At 11:12 a.m. he called. I declined. At 11:15 a.m., he texted, "Look, okay, I get it. We messed up, but I need the site back online. Can't we work something out?" At 11:17 a.m., another text, "I can pay you something. Like, not a ton, but something." A screenshot followed, a Venmo draft. $100. $100. For 6 years of work. I stared at it like it had personally slapped me. I didn't respond. Instead, I logged into the domain dashboard, changed the entire Brew and Bag It homepage to a simple white screen with one message. "This website is currently under maintenance. Please contact the site administrator for support. Hourly rate $250 HR." At the bottom, I put my business email. 5 minutes later, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. "Jason, Irma, what is this? Take this down right now." Jason, "People are calling the shop asking why the menu isn't working." Jason, "This isn't funny." I didn't answer. I took a long, satisfied sip of coffee. Then I moved on to the next item in my spreadsheet, my mother. Mom always approached situations with a different tactic. Less screaming, more weaponized sweetness. That afternoon, she called me from an unknown number. I answered because curiosity got the better of me. "Hi, sweetie," she said, her voice coated in honey so thick it could have glued a brick to the ceiling. "I'm glad you picked up. I was starting to think you blocked my number." I didn't say anything. She continued, "Listen, I talked to your uncle. He's in a very tough spot right now. We all are. And I know you're upset, but maybe you can find it in your heart to—" "To what, Mom?" I asked. She hesitated. "To help, just this once, for the family." There it was, that phrase. The phrase that had cost me over $160,000. The phrase that had chewed up my late nights, my free weekends, my paychecks. The phrase that turned every emergency into my responsibility. For the family. I closed my eyes. "Mom," I said quietly, "I helped for years." She exhaled. "Then why does it feel like you're punishing us now?" "Because you only call when you're losing something," I wanted to say. Instead, I asked, if I hadn't stopped paying everything, would anyone have noticed? Silence. Then a tiny wet sniffle. "I raised you better than this," she whispered. That one didn't sting. It just made me tired. "No," I said. "You raised me to never complain and always fix things, and I'm not doing that anymore." I hung up. Later that evening, I found a small white envelope taped to my door. Inside, a $50 Amazon gift card and a sticky note. "For your time, Mom." I laughed so hard I almost choked. They still didn't get it. The next morning, things got interesting. Jason tried hiring a freelance web developer, someone he found on Craigslist. It lasted 2 hours. The contractor messaged me privately on LinkedIn. Apparently, Jason had given him my name as the previous tech girl. He wrote, "Your uncle has no admin logins, no passwords, no backups, no recovery emails. Nothing. It's a digital dumpster fire. I invoiced him and blocked him. Good luck." I laughed for a full minute. Then my notifications blew up with screenshots from the local neighborhood Facebook group. Someone posted a video of a customer yelling inside Brew and Bag It, "You said I could place my order online." Jason shouting back, "You can, just not right now. It's complicated." The comments were ruthless. "Complicated. Eeks didn't pay your tech person, LOL. This is why you treat your IT people right. Man's blaming the cloud again." By afternoon, Mom tried calling again. This time from Dad's phone, like she was switching burner numbers to dodge a debt collector. I let it go to voicemail. Then Ryan, my cousin, sent a text. Ryan, "Yo, random question. Does your Adobe login still work or nah?" I stared at the message. Then I sent him a Google Calendar invite titled, "Consultation. Irma Iverson. Hourly rate, $200. He declined within 30 seconds. Shocker. That night, I opened the domain one more time, and I started creating something new. A landing page. Simple, clean, devastating. Because if Jason thought the earlier maintenance notice was bad, he had no idea what was coming next. By Wednesday morning, the entire situation had escalated from mild chaos to full-scale digital apocalypse. My alert system, yes, I built one, began firing off notifications one by one. Every disconnected account, every unpaid subscription, every auto-renew I had quietly disabled weeks ago, every domain, inbox, POS subscription, cloud storage service, all of them sent their final warnings. Support terminated. Final notice. The messages went straight to Jason, my parents, and anyone else who had ever freeloaded off my accounts. I didn't lift a finger. The system did the talking. But the best part? Each alert ended with a footer I'd written months earlier during a fit of dark humor. This digital support system has been deactivated after exceeding all available grace periods, boundaries, and unpaid labor. For technical assistance, please consult YouTube tutorials, Google, or your favorite niece. That line alone nearly made my coffee shoot out of my nose. Within an hour, Jason called 6 times. Dad texted me the shrug emoji. Mom reacted to her own apology note with a thumbs up, and I responded to none of it. Because at 9:12 a.m., something happened that I had been quietly waiting for. Brew & Baggett's domain officially expired. Jason had assumed, just like always, that I'd renew it in the background, that the magical digital fairy known as Irma would sprinkle her credit card dust and make it all better. Instead, when the domain dropped into the public market, I bought it for $14.99. $14.99 to reclaim 6 years of my sanity. And that's when I built the redirect. Oh, the redirect, my masterpiece. A simple landing page, clean white background, minimalist black text. At the top, in bold Helvetica, this site has been reclaimed by its unpaid developer. Underneath, support has officially ended. Then a large, flashy button. Visit irmaversantech.com, professional IT solutions, now with invoices. And finally, my favorite part, a live countdown clock. Time since last payment for 6 years of technical labor, 00 years. 06 months, 14 days, 11 hours, 32 minutes, 18 seconds. Tick, tick, tick. I sat back and admired it like an artist seeing her painting under gallery lights. At 10:07 a.m., the group chat exploded. Jason, what the hell did you do to my site? Ryan, bro. Irma redirected the whole cafe to her portfolio. Iconic. Dad, this is completely inappropriate. Mom, Irma, sweetheart, this is too far. Jason, you made your point. Take it down. I waited 5 minutes, then typed, Irma, you always said I was just the IT helper, so I helped with the exit process. Then I left the group chat. Literally left. Tapped exit group. And my phone went mercifully silent. But the internet? Oh, the internet was awake. At 11:45 a.m., someone in the local foodie Facebook group posted a screenshot of the redirect. Caption, guess Brew & Baggett's tech girl finally had enough. Within an hour, it had 418 likes, dozens of comments, and reactions ranging from outrage to admiration. This is what happens when you don't pay your nerds. Protect her at all costs. That countdown clock is petty perfection. Local small biz owners, take notes. Then came the message that genuinely changed everything. A DM from a cafe owner across town. Jason's biggest competitor, Deshaun. Saw what you did. Bold, clean, technically beautiful. I'm looking for a full-stack dev with actual backbone. Interested? I almost dropped my phone. We met that Friday in a quiet corner of his shop. Everything spotless, organized, competent. A sharp contrast to Jason's chaos. Deshaun shook my hand and said, I don't just want a website, I want you. Full stack, full control, full pay. By Monday, I had signed a $4,500 onboarding contract. By Wednesday, 2 more small businesses reached out. Both found me through my now famous redirect. My inbox was overflowing with, hey, are you taking new clients? Love the Brew & Baggett situation. Can you build something like that, but less savage? I almost framed those messages. And then, an email from a local tech meetup organizer. Your redirect made waves. We'd love for you to speak at our next event. Don't be a Jason. How to avoid burning out your tech people. Interested? I laughed so hard I had to put my phone down. Meanwhile, Jason was sinking fast. Screenshots flooded my DMs. Jason yelling at an employee because the backup register wouldn't start. Jason muttering something about cyber sabotage to a customer who walked out. Jason launching a new domain, brewandbaggett.net, and forgetting to pay that bill too. Result, immediate 404. I didn't touch any of it. I didn't need to. Some disasters destroy themselves. But the funniest moment came a week later when Jason, completely defeated, sent me a polite email. Subject, peace offering. Body. Hey, Irma, I know I messed up. You made your point. What would it take to get the domain back? We're rebranding anyway, but I'd love to make peace. Can throw in some cash. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. I didn't reply. Instead, I updated the landing page. This domain is no longer for sale, but you're welcome to browse the portfolio of someone you once called just the IT helper. Beneath it, an animation played. Jason's old cafe logo slowly pixelating into dust. And then, because life is poetic like that, I got one last envelope from Mom. Another gift card. $20 this time. With a note. For your time. I dropped it straight into the trash. Not angrily, not dramatically. Just finally free. A week after the redirect went viral, I found myself doing something I never imagined. Standing on a stage. Not a fancy one. Just a clean wooden platform in a co-working loft with exposed brick and Edison bulbs. Very startup chic. But the room was packed. Small business owners, freelancers, developers, students, people clutching notepads, people who had clearly been burned by their own versions of Jason. The event poster behind me read, "Don't be a Jason. How to Stop Burning Out Your Tech People," featuring Irma Iverson. I walked up to the mic, palms strangely steady. The lights were warm on my face. My heart thudded once, then settled. I cleared my throat. "Hi, I'm Irma, and for 6 years I was a one-woman IT department for my family, without knowing I'd been hired." Laughter, a knowing, exhausted kind of laughter. As I told my story, carefully anonymized, though everyone in town already knew the gist, the room nodded along like they'd lived pieces of it. People mouthed "same" under their breath. One guy wiped his eyes when I read the line from Mom's apology note. A woman in the back fist pumped when I described the countdown clock. The audience clapped at lines I didn't even realize were funny. But the biggest applause came when someone in the crowd asked, "So, did your uncle ever apologize? Like, actually apologize?" I smiled. "He tried," I said, "just not with money." They laughed again, louder this time. When the talk ended, people lined up to shake my hand, ask for advice, share their own stories. One woman said, "Thank you for saying what I've been too scared to say to my cousins for years." When I finally got home that night, my inbox showed 12 new inquiries, 12 potential clients, 12 people who wanted to work with me for what I do, not because they expected it for free. And meanwhile, Jason was falling apart like a glitchy, unpatched version of his own life. Someone sent me a blurry, secretly recorded video. Jason in the cafe, red-faced and wild-eyed, yelling at a teenage cashier because the backup register refused to cooperate. Another video showed him pacing outside the store muttering, "It's sabotage. I swear she sabotaged me," while customers sidestepped past him. And then came the most poetic disaster of them all. He tried launching a new domain for his rebrand, baguetteandbrewcafe.com, and spelled bagel wrong in the metadata, and forgot to renew that domain after the free trial. Instant 404. Zero intervention needed. Some people burn themselves without you striking a match. Then came the email. One final quiet plea. Subject: taking responsibility. Body: Irma. I know I screwed up. I know I leaned too much on you. I know I took advantage. I'm trying to fix things. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. No pressure. Jason. It wasn't good enough, but it was the first message he'd ever sent me that didn't include a demand, a password reset, or the word urgent. Progress, I guess. Mom tried one last time, too, sliding yet another tiny envelope under my door like she was paying off a parking ticket. Another gift card, $20. And the same sticky note, "For your time." This time I didn't laugh, I didn't cry, I didn't rage. I simply dropped it into the trash can and closed the lid. Not out of anger, out of closure. They weren't cruel people, just selfish. And I had finally stopped feeding the machine that enabled their selfishness. The truth is, I didn't burn bridges. I just took back the tools they built them with. They could rebuild if they wanted to, on their own dime, with their own effort. But me, I had a new future now. Clients who respected me, a job that paid me, a boyfriend who warned me long before I listened, a reputation built not on being the helper, but on being a professional who knew her worth. And as I sat at my desk one quiet morning, checking emails and sipping fresh coffee, I opened my old spreadsheet for the final time. Not bitter, just aware, but XSSX. I scrolled through the hundreds of lines, the numbers, the years, all the things I'd done quietly. Then I clicked archive. A notification popped up. "Are you sure you want to move this file?" I smiled. Yes. The file vanished from my view, and it felt like a weight leaving my spine. I powered down my laptop, leaned back in my chair, and whispered, "The helper is offline." Then, after a beat, permanently,